You ever notice how Boruto Two Blue Vortex has kind of turned into the anime and manga equivalent of two people living in the same house or walking down the same street and they just somehow seem to always be missing each other by 5 minutes? Like, Boruto was outside of the Uzumaki home watching Himawari from a distance like he was practicing some sad boy music video, and then you had Himawari on the inside of the house training her god powers with Kurama, and the story just refuses to ever let them talk. If you ever ask that question, I'm here to tell you that's not an accident. That's not bad writing either. It's not even, oops, I forgot that they were brother and sister like I've seen some people try to say. Instead, this is an intentional narrative lockdown. Join me in today's newest Naruto Explained video where your OBC, your original Boruto chief, is going to be breaking down why Boruto and Himawari have been deliberately kept apart for 3 years now, how Kurama's rebirth fits perfectly into this mystery, why Himawari's altered memories make their reunion terrifyingly important once it happens, and why this is one of the best examples of what I've talked about here on the channel for years now, which is the concept of delayed payoff. This is one of the best examples we've had in Boruto, and yes, I'm finally gonna explain to you why the manga continues to blue ball us on that sibling reunion harder than Naruto and Sasuke trying to finish the conversation without fighting in the Naruto manga. So without further ado, let's just get right into it, and we gotta start with Himawari's memory of Boruto being wrong and yet at the same time being emotionally right. So as we all know, Omnipotence rewrote everyone's memory. Everyone, possibly except for Himawari, depends on where you are on that perspective. But here's the thing, when she looks back at Naruto versus Delta, that oh so controversial fight which should not be controversial at all, she remembers Boruto being that adoptive brother who sacrificed his arm in order to save Naruto. But in reality, we know that this is dramatic irony. We know that that was Kawaki and Himawari's brain got scrambled. So Himawari's whole emotional core, her reasoning for wanting to become a ninja, her belief was that Boruto was innocent, and that was her entire motivation. She wanted to be a ninja to help Boruto. She believed in his innocence. It is all built on a false memory intentionally planted by Ada's omnipotence. Yet, her feelings, they're still real. She believes in her heart, with an affected memory or an unaffected memory. She believes in her heart that Boruto could not have killed her parents, that she wants to help him. That is her personal mission statement. And that puts her in a narrative position that nobody out of Boruto's generation who is affected by omnipotence is truly in. Himawari loves Boruto for a version of him that never technically existed, but it always existed emotionally. It's a paradox, it's a tragedy, and it is also a literary powder keg that is waiting to explode. And it's something I don't think enough people are paying enough attention to. And I believe that's exactly why the story is refusing to let these two have a single conversation, despite the fact that they've been in close proximity to each other a few different times. Which also brings me to why this sibling separation is not by accident at all. So let's establish the obvious here. There were multiple times they're in close proximity. When Boruto returned to Konoha, he never spoke to Himawari. As soon as he heard her voice, his face changed for a minute, but he never spoke to her. He never approached her. When Himawari awakened Kurama's chakra, and after Boruto took down Hidari, and after Jura shot Boruto, she tried to heal Boruto, but Kawaki didn't allow her anywhere near him. Boruto is also literally watching from outside of their home, and he does not go into the very home that they used to live in together. Himawari, she talks about Boruto constantly, but never to him directly. That's a deliberate pattern when you think about it. The separation continues even after major emotional beats, even after Himawari awakened the literal tailed beast that used to belong to their father. If this was a coincidence, then that dynamic duo of Ikimoto and Kishimoto, they would have shown at least one scene of them attempting to speak and failing for comedic effect or plot obstacle. Instead, the manga just refuses, at least as of right now. It blocks the meeting every single time. You might be asking, hey, why is this the case? Well, grab those ramen bowls because I'm about to explain to you. The moment that Boruto and Himawari actually talk, have a real conversation, This entire story has the potential to shift narratively in a major way, and it all hinges on Kurama being a possible key to this mystery of omnipotence. So this is where we get into the fun part, the juicy part. This is where if you have your white pants on, you'll be okay if you accidentally cream yourself. So Kurama respawned inside of Himawari around the same time that omnipotence would rewrite reality a few days later. Here's where this whole conversation gets spicy. It opens up a lot of questions that we don't necessarily have the answers to. Is a Biju affected by omnipotence? So we don't know. We don't know at all. But here's what we do know. Biju are pure chakra. They are ancient sentient beings. They are able to hide information from human minds. They are also resistant to mental manipulation, in particular when it comes to genjutsu. Now, they can still be placed on the genjutsu. We've seen that. But what we have seen is that when a Biju is inside of a Jinchuriki, that Jinchuriki can't be placed on the genjutsu unless it's something extremely abnormal, like we saw when Obito placed the 4th Mizukage on the genjutsu for several years. But I say that to say this, even though omnipotence itself is not like a genjutsu, it has been stated numerous times, the fact that it was chakra manipulation and reprogramming, it does make me wonder, does that apply to Kurama? And there is a chance, even if it's a small percentage chance, Kurama may still remember who Boruto truly is. And that means that since he's inside of Himawari's subconscious, there is a being who remembers Naruto and Hinata's true son. They remember Kawaki is actually the adopted child, and they remember that Boruto was the loving child, which means that Boruto could have never killed his parents. This means that inside of Himawari's subconscious, there happens to be a cute little fox who remembers the real timeline unaffected. And the most important part, Kurama and Himawari, they're already on good terms. He trusts her, she trusts him. They probably got matching ankle bracelets or friendship bracelets like Naruto and Gaara and Shikamaru had in the Naruto manga. Something that if you read the manga, you will have seen that because that was on one of the chapter covers. One of the many things you never saw in the Naruto anime. Reason 999, I strongly recommend reading the manga at least once. So if Kurama did maintain his true memories, then Himawari has the only eyewitness of the proper way that things should be inside of her soul. Not counting Ada, just saying the only person that could technically show her, because Kurama is chakra and there are different ways he could actually show her what truly happened. And that is something that makes Himawari dangerous in the future, which means that she is dangerous to Kawaki. I've been saying ever since Omnipotence happened that part 2 was going to be that story of the boy who lost everything, slowly reclaiming everything that was taken from him that he took for granted, and the boy who had nothing and was given everything overnight, slowly losing it all because he never knew how to embrace love. Well, what we're seeing right here is a character like Himawari. She could potentially be one of the very beings that Damon said can play spoiler to the lies that Kawaki has told. If Himawari learns the truth, that is a credible witness. The entire Shinobi world believes that Boruto killed Naruto and Hinata because Kawaki, the boy that they all believe is Naruto's child, told him, "This guy killed my parents." Everyone's gonna believe Naruto's child. What happens when the other child says, "No, Boruto's innocent"? Now you have two children of the same man who are giving you two different sides to the story. Boruto has been trying to avoid a civil war. He flat out said it. There will be people who take his side and there will be people who take Kawaki's side. He wants to avoid that. Is that why he potentially has not spoke to Himawari? It remains to be seen, but it is something to think about. And I do believe that Kurama could play spoiler to Kawaki in this reason. And that brings me to the bigger point, which is that Kurama could be used to tell her the truth. So that's basically the craziest part of this whole thing. Himawari already has an unwavering belief in Boruto. It doesn't come across like a girl who blindly trusts her adopted brother based on a manipulated memory. Instead, it feels deeper, it feels stronger. From the moment chapter 1 came out, there were people, myself included, who said, hey, is she really affected? Because it did look like she hesitated once Shikadai was saying, hey, this guy killed your parents. Why are you sticking up for him? When she was speaking before Shikadai called her out, she was confident. She wasn't confused. She was believing without hesitation. Now, her brain could very well be scrambled up. I don't put that past that at all. That would not take away from her trusting Boruto. But I will say that there is some room to have a serious conversation about the whole thing. I want you to imagine a scenario for a moment. Let's just play with the idea that Himawari, she did have her brain scrambled and everything is topsy-turvy basically. So Himawari could be remembering Boruto saved Naruto's life, and then Kurama would be like, hold on a second, what the hell are you talking about? It was Kawaki. I was there. Himawari would say, I was there too. Then Kurama would be like, yo girl, I was inside of Naruto. I know. That would lead to Kurama saying, yeah, Boruto's innocent and you're the only one who could help her. Suddenly, her motivation to help Boruto just got even stronger and it becomes more logical. Think about it for a second again. She wanted to become a shinobi because she believed that Boruto was good. When you have someone like Kurama confirming her instincts and she learns the truth, she's going to feel very responsible for helping someone that the entire world turned against. Her emotional truth will override her false memory. If Kurama truly remembers everything, then Boruto meeting Himawari too soon, it would prematurely expose that real timeline that Omnipotence changed. The manga has been delaying that reunion because the moment that Boruto and Himawari speak, the truth is going to come out. And from a literary perspective, if I was an editorial assistant working on Boruto, this would be something I would say, hey, let's use a delay payoff here, because that is too far of a big reveal to waste too early. This is not like a flash forward sequence where you tease stuff and build in the question, how did we get here? With something like this, you wait before you pull the trigger. And that brings me to the next point, which is that there's another X factor besides Kurama. That X factor is Inojin. This is where we look at Inojin. He is humanity's very first psychic Discord moderator. Shouts out to the moderators of the Patreon Discord server. But with this new mind link jutsu that he has, he can create those untraceable private conversations between people, meaning he might be the one who finally is used to allow Boruto and Himawari to talk secretly without Shikamaru, Ada, Kawaki, or the sensory core noticing. If he can do a private channel with multiple people in it, think of it again like Discord. You have general chat where everyone's in there, but there's also a separate channel you can open up and create where you can limit the people in it. It's basically the same concept. Narratively, that's absolutely genius. The quietest member of this new generation might end up becoming the key to unlocking the most emotionally loaded conversation in this entire arc so far. Once Inojin opens up that channel, Kurama, Himawari, and Boruto, they can finally share information, and the story, it would accelerate instantly. The manga has been saving this moment for the right time, when Boruto needs a massive emotional reveal in the story, when you need to take Himawari's character development to another level, and when Kurama's role becomes something unavoidable. Right now, we're close to that point, but we're not quite there yet because Himawari can't control that power. And that also brings me to now why this entire delay is a stroke of genius, an intentional stroke. So to understand this, we have to talk about delayed payoff, the good kind, not the perception that people have of, say, Naruto versus Pain, where we never got the full fight animated properly, which that's total cap. Did a whole video with King Bullet over on his channel explaining from a technical perspective why Six Tails Naruto versus Pain is beautifully animated and why there was an intentional decision to go off character model for a majority of the fight, and then once the chaos ended, to go back to character model towards the end. I will link that in the description box because it's too many people who don't understand animation who dunk on that fight, and elements of that animation style are being used in some of your favorite series, from Demon Slayer to Jujutsu Kaisen to Don to Don and so many more. So the purpose of a delayed payoff of the Boruto and Himawari reunion it gives a writer the first thing, which is emotional weight. When they finally talk, it's going to hit harder because of the tension that's been built up for us as readers. And the fact that Himawari has believed in Boruto for 3 years and Boruto has watched her from afar. They both feel responsible for each other. Now you add Kurama back into the mix, Kurama being their connection towards Naruto. That makes the stakes enormous. This is basically a way to insert Naruto Uzumaki into the story, despite the fact that Naruto is sealed away, because Kurama represents that bridge between the two. The other thing is that you get the mystery element. Readers, they ask, why aren't they talking? That tension, it is intentional. Suspension builds value for you as a writer. Then the third thing that you get is the perfect timing for a plot twist. If Himawari was never ever affected by omnipotence, let's just say for a second this was the case, then that reveal, it changes everything, because it means that she knew all along that that's my real brother. Again, this is assuming that she was never affected. That reveal is everything, because it now reframes every moment that you have with Himawari before in the story in a different way. You do not waste that too early. The next thing that you get is character development. Both characters would get more opportunity for independent growth before you get that emotional payoff. Boruto is rising as a rogue ninja. Himawari is also in the process of trying to grow her partnership with Kurama. That's the purpose of the training. You could argue, I wouldn't kick the can down the road this far, but you could argue that their paths, they shouldn't converge in terms of a conversation, an in-depth conversation, until Himawari has mastered Kurama's power. Again, I wouldn't kick it down that far, but I am saying that is a possibility. And that also brings me to why that's a narrative payoff. That's the fifth thing that you would get from this. This isn't just a sibling reunion. This is the truth versus the lie. This is memory versus reality. This is Kawaki's omnipotence created world versus Boruto's proper world. Rushing that conversation right now, it destroys that entire setup. Waiting makes that reveal more legendary. It makes it more earned. That's why you call it payoff. It is a earned payoff. And that brings me to this next and final point. The big reveal that the story might be saving is this. It's a potential endgame. Might be in a situation where she and Boruto, they're in a private chat via mind link via Inojin. Kurama might emerge and join that conversation because he is chakra, he's connected to Himawari, and that truth is going to hit all at once. Say Kurama was never affected by omnipotence. That is a big deal. Himawari getting both pieces of the truth subconsciously, realizing that her memories were affected and that Kurama was unaffected. Boruto realizing that his sister believed in him for all the right reasons the entire time. Himawari, because she learns that her memories were altered, it makes her instincts that she's shown that much more valuable. Kurama, again, becomes a bridge between omnipotence and the proper memories that she had. And also, he becomes a bridge between these two Uzumaki siblings. That moment's way too good to waste early. It changes the direction of both characters. It ignites the final progression of their character arcs in terms of their sibling arc. And that's why the manga is keeping them apart. Not because the story forgot, not because of bad writing, but because Ikimoto is saving a massive narrative detonation for the perfect moment. The day that Boruto and Himawari finally speak, that's the day where the foundation that Kawaki has built this lie upon, there are cracks already there. This is going to be a pretty big crack. Obviously, if you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing, clicking here on the left to check out my newest Naruto Explained video, or click here on the right to check out videos from my other two anime channels where I talk about non-Naruto content.